The most important part of video is audio. You want to make sure you got good microphones and it's coming through well. John, how's my voice coming through now in this?
Perfect.
You also might want to look into a webcam, an external webcam, so that you're not using the one that's built into the computer. Okay, make sure you got good lighting, because I find that lately, as I say, lately it's been getting dark in Orlando at night. It does that. And so getting light right now, it is dark outside. So I've got my lights up there right now so that I make sure that the lighting is coming through and doing well. And I think getting those kind of, and make sure your background is good. And then by developing enough competence, you will develop the confidence that's necessary on video. Get the competence first, study, and be willing to part with your time, your money, and your energy so that you can then get out there and solve problems for others. The more you can solve problems for others, the better off you'll be for yourself and in business.
Hello and welcome to the GYFT Show, a show created to help you get your future together. My guest today is Terry Brock.
I'm a communicator. I write and I speak. I use video, and I like to go work around the world with various clients, helping them to increase their marketing, use video more effectively, and get a lot more done. And so it's a fun time. And John, as you know, it's incredibly wonderful to be alive today with all the technology that we have with video. I mean, you're there in Ireland. I'm here in Orlando, Florida, in the States, and we're able to communicate. And I want you to know, I'm going to go ahead and pay for this Zoom call myself, since there's no extra cost to it. Yeah, that's it. But it's wonderful what we can do. And so I find that today we've got a lot of opportunities for businesses to really get ahead if they do their marketing and their business in the right way.
Very great answer. Before we got into communication, Terry, let's roll back the years. Where did Terry Brock grow up and go to school?
Oh, well, I grew up, I was born at an early age, and I in the state of Michigan, which is in the Midwest here in the States, and I went to school there. Undergrad was out in Oklahoma, and my MBA was at Georgia State in Atlanta, Georgia. And then from there, I've been doing a lot of work speaking and working for about 38 years as a professional speaker. So I figure I'm off to a good start.
Great. And what did you do before you went into professional speaking? I think you were a journalist, if I'm right.
Oh, yeah, I've been a journalist for a while, even while doing professional speaking. I actually started as a journalist when I was a kid in school. And second grade, I did a little bit. Then in my junior year of high school, started doing even more of it. I was 16 years old, and I had a chance to do a story interviewing a local senator. I was a state senator in the state of Michigan, and I interviewed him and really enjoyed that. And the paper liked what I did. And a few months later, they sent me to Washington, D.C., and I covered Richard Nixon's inauguration. He was a president of the United States. And I got a chance to do that and get a chance to see it. And so I really enjoyed it. And then at the same time, got involved in radio. So I was doing both journalism, paper, print, as well as on the air with radio. And so when I went to undergrad school, my major eventually turned into radio, TV, and newspaper, and just loved it to pieces.
If my memory serves me right, I think Richard Nixon was inaugurated first around 1969 and again in 1973.
That is correct. You are right, my friend.
Yeah, the years passed by so quick.
Yeah, for me, it was 73. So I was there January 20th, 1973, which was inauguration day. It's always on January 20th when it occurs. And it was 1973, and I remember it so clearly. At the time, the Vietnam War was raging. And I remember the chants of the people chanting, "Nixon, Agnew, you can't hide. We judge you with genocide." And I remember they were doing, and then what they did is they went to the Washington Monument, where those that know it, there's 50 flags around there. They have the United States flag up there and all that. Well, they tore down those flags, and the protesters put up North Vietnamese flags, and then started breaking glass on the Washington Monument. And the police didn't care for that. So they came in riding huge horses in force, and they put a stop to that real fast. But I saw it, I thought, I'm going to get out of here. So I just made a beeline and got out of there. But I remember that was at the height of the Vietnam War and the protests. It was a critical time in American history. For me to see that with my own eyes as a 16-year-old kid was really profound. And I'm actually look back now on it and very grateful for that.
Indeed. Just mentioning war, we had the 20th anniversary of 9/11 there on Saturday last. Can you remember where you were on the day of 9/11?
Oh, yeah. I remember I was up in Colorado. I was doing a presentation as a speaker. And when we saw that happening, it was just unbelievable. We went down and watching what's happening on TV, seeing it happen. We had never seen that before. And of course, our world changed that day profoundly. And now to see what has happened and to see the loss that the United States has and the way that it went down as well. Very sad, very saddening and concerned right now for what the future will hold on that. It does not look good, and history doesn't say a lot of good about countries that have lost that way. That was a second loss the United States ever had, Vietnam being the first. And we acutely saw that in 74, 75. When we saw the people fleeing Saigon and fleeing Vietnam, and now we're seeing the tragedies in Afghanistan. It does not look good. I'm an optimistic person generally, but I'm concerned about what's happening in the future.
And indeed, we had a very interesting interview some months ago with Lee Tran from our Video Rockstars group, where she talked
Yes.
about being one of the people who took a boat from Vietnam and ended up in Malaysia and Indonesia before she got sponsored to go and live with her family in the United States. Moving on from that, what would the Terry Brock of today say to the younger Terry Brock?
Well, I would say it's important to continue learning always and learn as much, get a lot of good experiences. I think depends on what younger age I would be, it would depend. I think one of the things I might have done differently, even though things have turned out very well, I'm glad for what I've done, very honored for that. But in my MBA program, I was able to go to Georgia State University, and I really just kind of lucked out. There was one of my best professors there was Dr. Stanley in strategic market planning. And I had him for a full quarter. They had the quarter system at Georgia State versus semester. And for a full quarter, learned a lot. If I had it to do over again, when I graduated with the MBA, I would have gone to Dr. Stanley and said, hey, you could probably use an intern, someone to do some research work for you, because he was working at the time on how the affluent are doing and how to influence the affluent. And he went on from that point to write a series of books called The Millionaire Next Door. That was Tom Stanley. And working with him would have been real good. But I think what I would do is get as much experience as possible. Working with others, don't worry about earning a lot of money. Be more concerned with learning a lot and getting as much experience as possible. I did that kind of on my own. And it turned out okay, but I'm still learning today. And it's like I'm constantly beginning anew. So even though I've been in professional speaking for 38 years now, I feel like I am in second week of kindergarten heading for a PhD. So I've got a long way to go, and I'm looking forward to it.
Good man. It's a great way to look at life. Tell me, what has been the biggest disappointment in your life?
Biggest disappointment? I don't know. Maybe it would be that I haven't achieved all the goals that I wanted. I've achieved a lot, but I'd say the main thing is I use the disappointment not as something to be remorseful about, but rather as fuel to energize me and move me forward. To say, okay, yeah, those bad things happen. They do. And when they do, you learn from that. So failure is not a final. Failure is a temporary learning experience. And you pick up from there and go forward. So I think I would do things differently. Sure, of course. Look at some things that I would do differently, probably keeping better records, keeping better track of what's going on, and also very quickly learning rather than stay in a situation that might not be bad for a longer period of time. Quickly learn from that, move on, and make it better.
That's a very, very valid answer, Terry, because, in my younger life, I used to take failure very personal and dwell on it. Now I see it as an opportunity to learn and to improve myself. Because
yeah, John, I think we often learn more from failure than we do from success, because failure, we go, ooh, that hurt. We got to get better. Have you found that to be true?
I have, yes, indeed, in recent years. But as I was just saying there a minute ago, in my formative years, I used to take it very personal, take it to heart and overthink it and dwell on it too much rather than taking action.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Taking action, what you say, is the key. I found that when I was a kid, I came up with a phrase: action displaces despondency. So sometimes instead of feeling down, get out there and get some action, get moving in the right direction, doing the right things, and moving forward. It tends to dissipate and put that despondency over on the side. So you say, hey, I'm going to figure out what to do better this next time. Learn from that, learn from those mistakes, get up, dust yourself off, wipe the blood off your knee. You might skin your knee and it hurts. And yeah, it does hurt. But we move forward then, learning from that so that we can become even better.
Very, very true. I'd also say to people that perfection never happens. You're always learning, and don't wait for perfection to come. Try something and you can improve on it ever so slowly at a time.
Absolutely. It's perfection. It's not going to be there. Hey, welcome to planet Earth. It doesn't work that way here, but we are approaching. It's kind of like it's a calculus equation. You're approaching, but never reaching that ultimate. So you're always working that, like with differential and integral calculus. We're kind of getting better all the time. And that's part of the fun of life. So it never really is over. We keep moving forward all the time.
You grew up in Michigan. You've lived for some of your life in Colorado, and now you're living in Florida. Is that correct?
Well, actually, I was born and raised in Michigan. I visited Colorado many times. I never lived there permanently. I lived in Oklahoma for undergrad school, and then in Atlanta, Georgia, the Atlanta, Georgia area, and did a lot. But now in Orlando, Florida, where I love the sunshine, the warmth, lakes all over the place, and a very reasonable state income tax, zero, because we know that taxation is theft. So when they have zero taxes, that's a good thing.
What has been the proudest moment in your life?
Oh my. It's hard to say. There's several. I think it's when each day when I can accomplish goals, that is a proud moment to do it. And then it's instructional when I don't get it right. Of course, it was a proud thing. I was very, very honored when the National Speakers Association awarded me the CAVIT, which is the highest award that NSA has. They give that to one person a year. And when I received that, first of all, it was a shock because I figured that I would never get it. There were so many others that were there, but it was an honor for me that the National Speakers Association gave that to me, and I'm honored. And now I look at that as an opportunity to try to embody that spirit of CAVIT. CAVIT Robert being one of the co-founders of NSA, the idea of giving and helping others and always getting better. CAVIT would say, school is never out for the professional. So we're constantly going back to that and learning. And so even this morning, John, I'm up early here to meet, to work with you. I really appreciate you taking time so I can get up early this morning, get a lot done already. I've had a great day. So it doesn't matter what happens the rest of the day, but it's already been good. And I'm looking forward to packing as much good into this and helping as many others as I can.
How has the professional speaking profession changed since you've started out as a career professional speaker?
Oh, only in every way possible, enormously, and particularly within the last year. I mean, when I started, I was a trainer. I had been training, doing a lot of classes. It was 5 years I had been working as a professional trainer and speaker before I even heard about the National Speakers Association. But I heard about it when I was in New York and doing a presentation there in New York City, and a man named Jim Cathcart was speaking. I'd heard of him. I went and introduced myself to him, and he told me about the National Speakers Association. I got started with it, and I'm very grateful to Jim Cathcart for introducing me to that. But it has changed dramatically in that technology has become even more important. We're using a lot of video right now. As you know, John, we're doing a lot with video. It used to be that we would only go out into a group in person. We would hold a microphone. We would talk to people that are there in person. Today, most of our communication is in other ways. We're doing a little bit in person, although that fluctuates up and down depending on what it's like with COVID-19 currently as we're recording this. But I find that we're doing much more with video, and video has become the staple and the primary way of us communicating. So I would say to anyone that's watching this, if you're interested in becoming a professional speaker, definitely learn the ins and outs, the nuances of video and how you can work with it, how you can make that something that's going to be even better, because that is really where our world is today.
What advice would you give to a person who's considering entering the professional speaking industry?
Find the needs that are out there and figure out ways that you can help solve those problems. I like to say what we've got to do is we've got to be CSPs. And CSP is a designation we have within speaking of a certified speaking professional here in the United States and other places. But I would say the CSP also means we need to be communicators who solve problems. If we can solve those problems, we're going to do much better and we're going to see our world become better. And as a professional communicator, a professional speaker, you're going to be able to do more. If you think of yourself as only doing one thing, you run into the problem of what the railroads ran into that we saw from, who was it, the Harvard professor that told us, Theodore Levitt, back in the 60s. The problem with the railroads is they defined themselves as being in the railroad business. They should have defined themselves as being in the transportation business. And I think if we define ourselves as being a professional speaker, we're running into the same problem. We have to be communicators so that we write, we coach, we consult, we facilitate, we speak in person sometimes. We do communication via audio alone, like with a podcast, with video, in many other ways. And so I would say that would be my recommendation. Find that need, get really, really good at solving problems, become an expert in something, develop the competence to solve that. And then by developing enough competence, you will develop the confidence that's necessary on video. Get the competence first, study, and be willing to part with your time, your money, and your energy so that you can then get out there and solve problems for others. The more you can solve problems for others, the better off you'll be for yourself and in business.
Our great friend, Eamon O'Brien, I had him on the GYFT Show
Wonderful
some months ago, and we talked about storytelling and visceral feeling. How important is storytelling and a visceral feeling to a professional speaker talking to an audience?
It is critical, vital to be able to tell a story. Why? This is the way humans work. It's the way we're wired. From the time we were back at the caves and sitting around in tribes and listening to people, they would tell stories. Hey, I went out there and I thought I heard something in the brush, and it was there. And I looked over and it was the saber-toothed tiger. But I reached out and picked up whatever their story was. You know, we are fascinated by that as human beings. So learn to tell stories. There's ways you can do that right now. Go to the University of YouTube. And there's lots of wonderful videos out there on how to tell stories and what to do. And Eamon O'Brien, and Eamon, if you're seeing this, cheers to you, my brother, and keep doing the great work you're doing, telling stories and presenting. And I think that's what we need to do as communicators who are solving problems. Learn to blend stories in there. Learn the art of doing that in the right way so that you attract others and help them to solve their own problems.
I'm sure you've traveled far and wide. What country would you love to visit that you haven't been to already?
Oh my, I don't know. There's so many. I've been to, 44 countries so far. And so what I want to do is go back to some that I've already been, like Ireland, and that St. James Brewery. I want to see if they still have those lovely pints of Guinness. I don't know. They might not. So I need to go back and check that out. A country that I have not been to yet, Italy. I haven't been there. Looking forward to being there. I got over to Greece just a little while ago, and that was good. I'd love to go back to Russia because I love Russia. I speak a little Russian. Ya говорю по-русски немного, a little bit. I'd love to go back there. And Japan, I love that. So Nihongo ga hanashimasu. I can speak a little Japanese, there. But lots of countries in Central and South America, because right now I'm working on my Spanish, to habla español, to get over and see more of those countries. So I'd like to do more of that. Probably when it is safer, go to Venezuela, to other countries like Chile and Argentina. I've not been there. They would be some countries I'd want to go to and practice the Spanish that I'm stumbling through and was working on this morning, John, and going through my Spanish. I'm up to, I think, day 650 or so. So I've got in the Duolingo system, going through that and work with it.
What would you like to do for the rest of your life? What's the one big achievement that's on your list to achieve as yet?
Well, to keep doing what I'm doing right now and to help people learn how they can free themselves of the tasks they don't want to do and pursue an entrepreneurial lifestyle for those that want to do that. For me, I like to call myself, I created a word, John, agorapreneur, from the idea of entrepreneurs that are out there working and all that, and the agora lifestyle. Agora lifestyle comes from the Greek word agora, which meant open spaces and people interacting peacefully and voluntarily with each other. Kind of a live and let live lifestyle. To live and let live, meaning you do whatever you want as long as you take responsibility for what you're doing and you don't initiate force or harm to another. You, John, you own your body. You should be able to do what you want with your body, anything you want, as long as you take responsibility and you don't harm another. And for me, that seems like a universal principle that resonates with people around the world. As an Irishman, let me ask you, how does that sound to you? Live and let live, do whatever you want, you don't harm others, you don't initiate that force, and you take responsibility for your life. How does that sound to you as an Irishman?
It sounds brilliant because I'm very much the individual and I do like my own freedom and a choice. I like to make my own choices in life.
Absolutely. No one has a right to tell you what to do, what you can put into your body, or how you can do it. You have the right to live your life your way. And I think that the agorapreneur lifestyle is what I really want to do more and more all the time and be able to help other people live the life they want. That's why Gina Carr, my partner, and I are working to help people do that more. Create the kind of lifestyle that you want in your life, again, to do anything you want. Even if I look at it and go, ooh, that's kind of weird, that's goofy. Well, if you're not harming anyone else, go for it. Have a good time. In the United States, we have a First Amendment in our Constitution. And that amendment says the government cannot prohibit freedom of speech. They can't stop you from what comes out of your mouth. I think we also should have the government cannot tell you what goes into your mouth, even if it's wrong, even if it's something that's not right. I mean, if there were, I don't think we have a law here, but if they had a law like you should not drink turpentine, okay, seems like, okay, that's reasonable, but it shouldn't be a law. If someone wants to do that, and I don't know why they should, and I would not recommend that ever, but the government does not have a right to tell them they can't do it. However, if they do it, they do not have a right to come to me and say, I need medical care. Now we're going to force you to pay for my medical care because they did something stupid. No, they did something stupid. That's their fault. If I choose to do it voluntarily and freely, that's one thing. But I think that every action we take should be voluntary. If it's voluntary, okay. If it's not voluntary, not okay.
True. And what I'd add to your agorapreneur, I'll start again. What I would add to your agorapreneur concept is learning should be fun. Learning should not be a task, in my view.
I agree. Learning is one of the most important things we can do. And learning is something I love doing all the time. It's one of the things that attracted Gina and me to each other, that we both loved learning, lifelong learning. And one of the challenges actually becomes there's so much good out there. I mean, just turn on YouTube. There's so many good videos. We can't watch them all. There's so many good podcasts. We can't listen to them all. So that's a challenge, but okay, that's all right. I would not want to go back to a time where we have fewer videos and fewer audios. We just need to, I think it's Clay Shirky says it real well. The problem is not filter failure. The problem is not too much information overload. The problem is filter failure. I said that the wrong way, but we've got to make sure that we don't encounter filter failure in the midst of information overload. And so we just keep learning, like you said, learning all the time.
Terry, there's been a lot of talk in social media the past couple of weeks about the Great Resignation. What is your thought on this subject?
I've heard of that, the Great Resignation. I've been doing a little bit of search on it. And I think what's happening is people are waking up. People are saying, hey, I've been doing jobs that I don't want to do, and we need to get out of there. I think of your story, John, was it 2010? I think you said that you were working there with, was it DHL?
Yeah.
And then they said, well, we're going to make you, as you call it, redundant. We'd say you're getting fired over here in the States. And that can be really disruptive. Excuse me, I have some in my throat here. But that is really discouraging when that happens. I've been fired before. Actually, well, yeah, I think I was fired once. It's because it was a job that I didn't really care for, and it was run poorly, and they went out of business very soon afterwards. But I find that what we want is we want to resign from that. And I think we can welcome that. We can welcome that resignation as a chance for a new beginning, a chance to say, hey, I'm going to get out there and do what I want to do. And today we can be entrepreneurs better than ever before in history. I would say if you are someone watching this or listening to this audio, you have an opportunity to become the person you want to be, to work, but you're going to have to work for it. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to pay the price in time, in money, and in energy. Be willing to pay that price. Get out there and go for it. Make it happen. And if you do that, you're going to be able to achieve the goals that you want. Get the right instructions. Get the right people to help you. Pay money to be with coaches who can help you in the specific area that you want to be. That's what we have to do. And if we do it that way, that great resignation that's touching many people's lives right now is something that can be very helpful. And you can look back on it and think, hey, this is exactly the thing I needed to do.
You've got a graduate degree, you've got an MBA. You obviously like to study and read. What sort of books do you like to read for relaxation?
Oh, I read a variety of books. I think it's good to look at a large variety. I love reading books about marketing. I love reading history because we can learn a whole lot. Who is it? George Santayana that said, if we don't learn from the past, we're condemned to repeat it. And I think old George was right when he said that. And I think that what we want to do is learn from that. I love reading history. I don't read a lot of nonfiction. It's good, and I think there's a lot to be said for it. I finished a book just about a week ago that was really good, and you can learn a lot from nonfiction, so I'd say that is good too. But I find I just enjoy reading books, and now mainly I'm reading them on my smartphone. You know, I got them here on my smartphone. I read Kindle and do it that way. Now I've got a lot of paper books too. As you can see, those, by the way, those are real books behind me. This is not a green screen here. That's some of the books here in our condo. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 libraries of books of different places, books that I've read. And I love to go back and visit some of those old friends again, to see what they're like and what they have to say. But I think that those kind of books, you can really learn a lot. It gives you a chance to visit another place. It gives you a chance to travel through time, to be able to experience life of what happened before, or to travel forward into what could be our future, looking at some science fiction and read some of that. And that would be the fiction books there. But I find we learn a lot. And I would encourage you watching this right now, if you're watching this, you're listening to this audio, experience some areas that are outside your comfort zone. Read books that are from a different point of view. If you believe this particular way, politically or philosophically, try reading from the 180 degrees out of what it is. For instance, I find myself almost 180 degree opposition to communism and what they did in the Soviet Union, and Nazis and what the Nazis did under Hitler. But yet I think it's important to read it, to try to understand from their point of view, even though I vehemently disagree with what happened under Nazism and under communism. I find that those are just absolutely repulsive and reprehensible, but we can learn by reading from that. Read what Mao Zedong did. See, here's a guy that butchered and killed 40 million people, but we can learn from what happened in that, and the great cultural revolution of the 60s there in China. Learn from that to go, oh, okay, that's what they did. You know, when we start hearing some things that sound similar, we might need to avoid that. I think that I forget who it was, Mark Twain, I think it was, who said, history might not repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. And we start hearing similar things over and over, we should perk up our ears and go, hey, wait a minute. What you're saying there, what we're hearing on BBC or what we're hearing on CNN or Fox News or MSNBC or some other news outlet, Asahi Shimbun over in Japan or wherever, if it starts sounding similar to what we heard somewhere in the past, we need to be aware. And we need to think, wait a minute, what's going on here? You can't try something that doesn't work at all do it again, just put a different coat on it, and maybe it'll work this time. We need to understand that. I think a good sound knowledge of economics is really important. I think one of the best books ever written was called Human Action by Ludwig von Mises. He won a Nobel Prize in 1949. Also, another Nobel Prize winner, Friedrich Hayek. We found his book, Road to Serfdom. It's a very good book on that, and on where we went wrong, where countries have gone wrong in the past. We can learn a lot from them and be able to learn on how we can freely live our life, be free to choose. Milton Friedman, another Nobel Prize economics winner, he wrote that book with his wife, Rose, Free to Choose, and it changed my life, that book and the television series that came out with it. And I think those are the kind of things that we need to steep our minds in and start learning from. Read books. There's a lot of wisdom that can be learned from that and wisdom that can be gained from that.
I'm currently reading a book about the Vietnam War, and it's a book that was written by a helicopter pilot who flew a Huey during the Vietnam War, in the early stages of the war actually. And at the beginning he was flying troops out to landing zones to go into combat against the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese army.
Yes.
Partway through the book he talks about having to wait and collect soldiers who passed away in the battlefield and to bring them back to camps in body bags. And he talked about, it was quite graphic, about the blood in the helicopter, and also door gunners and technicians being fired upon by the North Vietnamese army or the Viet Cong and dying within the helicopters. They were killed by bullets, and also the helicopters being shot down by missiles, for example. It's quite a graphic book and quite moving. And you could see from the book that the life of a helicopter pilot in Vietnam was pretty scary, to say the least. That's been my experience with that book. Aside from reading, what other interests do you have outside of your work?
Oh, I have a lot. Gina and I usually get together, and we make it a point to do it almost every night, to have a date and to get together and be together and talk. And we often spend that watching great videos on YouTube. We've got a home theater and a widescreen, all that, like many people have today. And we like to watch educational videos and training videos and things that are really good. So I like to expand our mind that way. We share that together, and we'll also find out, what happened in the day, and we do that. Another thing that I enjoy doing is, and I haven't been doing it for a little while because of the pandemic, haven't been getting out, but I want to get back on my unicycle. I ride a unicycle. It's just kind of fun. And John, I'm hoping that someday I'll be able to afford two wheels someday, I hope. But so right now I've just got the one though, but I use that and have a lot of fun with it. And I find exercise really good. Swimming, we've got a nice pool. I think they're almost required by law here in the state of Florida. Not really, but almost, because we got so many of them. But I enjoy doing that. And exercise, I think, is very good. One of the things I've discovered in the last about a year, 2 years ago, these things called burpees. Now, they are fun. And I've been watching YouTube and looking at the burpees and some of the Navy SEAL burpees. Boy, they will kick your butt and make you feel real good. You know what I'm saying? But if you get sit down and start doing some of those burpees and then push-ups, I enjoy those. Last year, I had something that was fun just for a challenge. I decided I wanted to do some extra push-ups and push myself a little bit farther. When I was a kid, I did a lot of them. And I think I had a record of like 600 push-ups when I was a kid, like 16, in one day, not all at once, but over a period of time. And so what I did last year is I just made myself do that. And I got up to what I say Phoenix, because Phoenix, the area code in Phoenix, Arizona is 602, right downtown in Phoenix. So I hit 602 push-ups. And then I thought, well, I'm going to do that even better. And I hit Las Vegas. The area code in Las Vegas, 702. So I had 702 push-ups in one day. And so I'm going to get back into it right now. I've kind of fallen off a little bit. I want to get back in there and maybe hit Salt Lake City, where the area code is 801. 801. So I figure, okay, 801 push-ups in one day, that would be good, which I hear a lot of people do even more than that. They'll do like 1,000 or so and all that. And I think, okay, well, I'm going to do that for a guy where I am. I'd like to do that. And I think it'd be fun to do that. And so I enjoy the exercise, the push for that, and the challenge to make it happen.
Good man. It's a bit rural around here, so I like to get out in the fresh air and enjoy the fresh country air. So that's where I take most of my exercise. And I did get into my head at one stage about doing press-ups. I was doing fine, And the next thing was I got a frozen shoulder, and that put a stop to it.
Yeah, that can be rough. Yeah. But that's
Yeah,
where those wonderful medical professionals come in, where they
yeah.
can treat that. They know how to massage it and do the right thing and then listen to what they have to say. If they say, no, 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 you shouldn't do that. Well, okay, we honor that. But if they say, well, you might be able to do it if you do this and that and all those things, I'm fine. It's amazing what we're discovering we can do with some of the technologies that help us to get back parts of our body and use of it that we didn't think we would be able to do before.
One final question. Somebody says to you, what should I have in my studio setup to get started with recording videos? What advice would you give to that person?
Oh, well, there's a whole lot there. Well, first of all, what you want to do, the first thing, the most important part, John, you know this from being in our Video Rockstars program, the most important part of video is audio. You want to make sure you got good microphones and it's coming through well. John, how's my voice coming through now in this?
Perfect.
Thank you. Well, perfect is good. We want to make sure we have that. So get a good microphone. I'd say an external microphone. That will be good. You also might want to look into a webcam, an external webcam, so that you're not using the one that's built into the computer, but rather one that you can look into directly like this. John, you know from our Video Rockstars class, we talk about the importance of looking directly into that webcam. Because if I'm looking over here like this, and I'm saying, John, I'm really interested in you and I care about you, John, you kind of feel goofy until I look over here and I go, here we are looking right at you, John. We're here. So I would say get a good webcam. Make sure you got good lighting, because I find that lately, as I say, lately it's been getting dark in Orlando at night. It does that. And so getting light right now, it is dark outside. So I've got my lights up there right now so that I make sure that the lighting is coming through and doing well. And I think getting those kind of, and make sure your background is good. I've got, my background is just specifically for me, books, and then I got my flags. And by the way, John, do you recognize that flag right about there?
I do indeed.
Yes, indeed. That's a special flag for me because I love Ireland. Oh, and by the way, this one over here, you know what that one is?
I do. It that one there where you're pointing, not exactly sure, sorry.
Yeah, that's Holland. So
Oh,
I've got Holland and other places I've been, like over here. Here's Russia. Here's Colombia, Mexico. Love Mexico to pieces. Love, love, love Japan,
yeah.
and that. So I put those there, but I have that so that we can get a chance to see what's available and have the lighting so that you can have a good background. For me, it's my books and my flags. It's kind of a branding that I've done, and these are flags of countries where I've been and had an exceptionally good time. So it brings back memories of, oh yeah, I remember in Japan having some good sake and really nice. John, do you like sake, Japanese sake?
I've never tried it, to be honest.
Oh, well then, lad, I will have to get you some sometime, and just for science purposes, of course, just try it and see what it's like. I figure, who am I to argue with the Japanese and thousands of years of drinking sake? And by the way, it is good. Do a Google search on health benefits of Japanese sake. Sake, the sake, and see what that's like, and you'll see, oh, there's some good health benefits there. So that'd be something to look into. But and setting up the studio, do those kind of things, make it fun, make it something that's you, and get some help on it too. Find people that can help you on that, that can give you the instructions to get it right, just right, so that it works for you.